Good morning. Today is Wednesday, July 31st, 2024. Our focus in Israel is on the recent attacks, hoping there will not be an escalation of fighting, and the hostages and efforts to rescue them, to release them, and of course the fighting in Gaza. But something terrible happened in Israel, and I feel it is necessary to condemn it. The Israeli military said yesterday, on Tuesday, that they had sent 2 battalions of soldiers to protect an army base in Israel, where 9 soldiers are being held on suspicion of abusing a Palestinian prisoner. So let's understand, there's an allegation of abuse of Israeli soldiers against a Palestinian man in their prison, and the military started to investigate these 9 soldiers for having committed a crime, and dozens of protesters, including at least 3 members of the political ruling coalition, gathered outside this prison, and some of them surged into the prison, and others forced their way into another adjacent prison. So we have Israeli soldiers being called back from the war against Gaza and Hezbollah to secure army bases where Israelis are being held on charges of torturing a prisoner. And this is just the most fiery moment of a deep disagreement among Israelis about how to detain and interrogate and punish Palestinians accused of participating in the October 7th attacks with Hamas. Since the beginning of the war, October 7th, the Israeli military has captured at least 4,000 people from Gaza, and they've been brought to a certain prison for detention and interrogation. More than 1,000 of them were later judged to be civilians and let go. They went back. The others are being held on suspicion to links to Hamas and terrorism. Now, there have been allegations, and I want to underscore this, allegations. I certainly don't have any access to the truth, but allegations that some Israeli guards at these prisons, military prisons, routinely abuse the prisoners under their control. And there are large segments of Israeli society that condemn this, that stand up for human rights, the rights of prisoners, international law, Jewish law, basic morality. And on the other hand, there are many Israelis who decry this scrutiny of our Israeli soldiers. And they say soldiers should not be punished for how they treat prisoners of war believed to have participated in the atrocities of October 7th and since. So that's just the background. But what happened more recently is that a military doctor, so again, this is an Israeli military doctor, who's a doctor at the field hospital of this prison, said in an interview that a Palestinian in prison had been brought to the prison field hospital about 3 weeks ago with signs of abuse all across his body. And so this doctor said that the doctors there immediately sent him to a major civilian hospital for his injuries. And he informed the military police that this prisoner might have been mistreated, either by guards or fellow prisoners. So I'm not alleging any of the action. However, and the military has not released any details of this. However, a lawyer representing 3 of these 9 soldiers, this lawyer said that 3 of his clients were being questioned on suspicion of severe sexual abuse of a Palestinian prisoner. Now, at word that Israeli soldiers were being investigated for sexually abusing a Palestinian, a number of senior politicians, including those within the ruling coalition, came to support the soldiers. Other senior politicians and many other people in the country, they are horrified that there could be a group who would come to support people who are alleged to have committed terrible crimes. And they say this threatens the rule of law and the country's cohesion at a time when unity was most needed. So I'm just going to quote this. It was quoted in the paper. If I'm quoting it wrongly or if there's some other context, I hope to learn it, but I'm just quoting from the newspaper records. At a hearing in Parliament, a lawmaker from Mr. Netanyahu's party, Hanoch Milwidsky, I don't know anything about this person, but he is a lawmaker from Likud, Mr. Netanyahu's party. At a hearing in Parliament, he was asked whether it was acceptable to sexually abuse a detainee. And he answered, yes. If he is Hamas, everything is legitimate to do. Everything. So I just need to say out loud, this is wrong. It is illegal. It's a violation of Jewish law, international law. And this demonstrates to me that the individuals who engaged in this kind of behavior and those who support this behavior are deserving of the highest condemnation. This is not who we are. And this must not become who we will be. Okay, I want to move to the subject that I wanted to discuss with you today. So there is a pivotal passage in our Torah portion. This week is the double parsha Matos Masai. This occurs near the end of the first parsha, near the end of Matos. It is a passage that affects the course of the unfolding of Jewish history, and it contains numerous fundamental lessons for us to learn. I plan to discuss this further with you on Thursday night with God's help. But today I just want to share one point. Remember, in the Torah narrative, we're near the end of the 40 years in the desert. The Jewish people are on the eastern bank of the Jordan River, ready to make their approach into Israel from the east, going west across the Jordan River. And we have learned about several battles that have taken place on the eastern bank of the Jordan River, in all of which the Jewish people triumphed. So the Torah tells us, Mikna Rav Hoya Livnei Reuven Urle Gad. There were 2 tribes, Reuven and Gad. Remember the 12 tribes. 2 tribes, Reuven and Gad, and they had lots and lots of cattle. So they were interested for themselves. You know, the land of Israel has different topography. There's flat land, there's mountains, there's water, there's arid land. It's all different kinds. So they had lots of cattle. So what would be best for them is large spread out areas where their cattle could graze. Umikna Rav Haya livnei Reuven v'livnei Gad. Vayavo, and they came before Moshe, the heads of the tribes of Reuven and Gad. They came before Moshe and Elazar and the heads of the tribes, and they said as follows: Yutan es ha'aretz hazos lavodecha lachuza. Let us have this land on the eastern bank of the Jordan River. We don't need to go into Israel. This land is perfect for us. Al tavirenu es ha'yarden. We don't want to cross over the Jordan River into Israel. We want to stay on the eastern bank of the Jordan River, which today is now Jordan going into Syria, probably, maybe, somewhere like that. We want to stay here. This is best for us because we have lots of cattle, and here it's wide, spread out, plenty of room for our cattle to pasture. We don't want to go in with you. Let us have our share here. Now, tomorrow night, with God's help, we will discuss Moshe's response to this, which is very important. But for now, all we need to know is that there is sort of a negotiation. And Moshe finally says that, yes, but with conditions. So they say, Gidros tson nivna lemiknenu po, va'arim letapenu. We will abide by your conditions, Moshe, meaning we will build our cities here, we will build the pens for our animals here, and then we will go with you into the land of Israel to help fight, to conquer the land, and then we'll come back. We'll come back to the land that is already ours. In other words, what they said to Moshe is, give us our land now. Give us our portion now. And then we'll build on it. We'll build cities. We'll build homes. We'll build fences. We'll leave our women and children here. The men will go to fight with you to conquer the land. And then we'll come back to our land, which is already ours. That's what they said. So Moshe responds to them. And he says, and again, it's like in any negotiation, you have to pay close attention to the details because they're very, and we're going to see more of this tomorrow night, there are very slight differences in what they appear to be agreeing, but there's some details where there's disagreement. So Moshe says to them, okay, all right, here's how it's going to work. You come with us into Israel and you fight to help us conquer the land. And then va'achar tashuvu, then you can return to the eastern bank of the Jordan River, your home. And when you return, that's when you will get the land. Meaning, Moshe says, I'm not giving you the land in advance. You have to prove that you are going to keep up your part of the bargain, which is to come into Israel to fight. And it took 7 years to fight to conquer the land. So I'm not giving you the land in advance. You come fight for 7 years until we conquer the land. Then you will receive your portion. Now, it's a kind of a minor detail. Moshe is basically agreeing to the deal. The question is, when does the transfer of ownership take place? When do they gain title to their land? They want it now, but we're not going to do anything with it because we're going to travel to Israel and help fight and then come back. Moshe says, no, come fight. When you go back, that's when you'll get title to your land. They, again, appearing to agree, but they insist on this point. They say, okay, just like you said, Moshe, all right, fine. Nachnu navor chalutzim livnei Hashem eretz Canaan. We will go with you mightily into the land of Israel. Ve'itanu achuzas nachloseinu me'aver liyarden. After we have already taken ownership of our land on the eastern bank of the Jordan. So they're not giving in on this point. Both sides agree to the basic idea. You can have that land, but you have to come with us and fight. But the disagreement remains. They're insisting they want title to their land now. And Moshe is insisting he wants them to have title only when they fulfill their pledge and do the fighting. So then the Torah says something amazing. At that moment, Vayiten lahem Moshe livnei Gad v'livnei Reuven, Moshe gave them the land they requested. Vayivnu, they built cities there, they built homes, they built fences. Moshe gave it to them. Siforno points out, in other words, Moshe gave in. Meaning, this detail of the negotiation, when would the transfer of land take place? They wanted it right away. Moshe wanted it later. They insisted. Moshe insisted. Seems like a stalemate. And then when it comes down to it, Moshe gives in. Why does Moshe give in? If it was important enough to mention and to insist upon in the negotiation, why does Moshe give in? Listen, please, to the words of Siforno, one of the classic commentators to the Torah. Vayitin lahem Moshe, Moshe gave them the land now, as they requested. Why? Kadei shelo likanes b'machlokas, in order not to get into an argument with them. Hiskim Moshe l'divrayim. He gave in. He gave in. He decided it wasn't the most major issue. Either he trusted that they would keep their bargain, or he hoped there would be enough pressure upon them to keep their bargain. But he could have insisted. He did insist at first. It was important to Moshe because he insisted twice. But finally he gave in order not to create a machlokas. I want to share with you a true story that I heard from Rabbi Meilech Biderman. It's an incredible story. So there was a man, a Rav, who passed away recently in Israel. His name was Rabbi Nissim Karelitz. He was a well-known person. He lived in Bnei Brak, which is just outside of Tel Aviv, a very religious neighborhood, and he was a dayan. He was a Jewish judge. He was a posek. He was an arbiter of Jewish law. He was an expert in Jewish law. People came to him with all kinds of questions, and his opinion was respected widely. And people also came to him with their disputes, and he adjudicated probably thousands of complex disputes between different parties. And he was renowned as a great legal mind in Talmudic law, in Jewish law. Rabbi Nissim Karelitz. It happened one time that he was walking in Bnei Brak with another man, a friend of his, and the two of them were walking. A third man approached them. This man is a neighbor of Rav Karelitz. And this man says to him, Rabbi Karelitz, you owe me 600 shekel. 600 shekels, about $200. You owe me 600 shekel. Rav Karelitz said, why do I owe you 600 shekel? We don't have any business dealings together. I didn't borrow money from you. Why do I owe you 600 shekel? And the man said to him, his neighbor, he said to him, well, recently you painted your home, and your painter took the leftover paint that wasn't used and he poured it down the pipe, down the drain, and now my drain is clogged. And I had to call a plumber and to pay a plumber 600 shekel to fix my drain. And the damage was caused by you, by your worker. So you owe me 600 shekel. Rav Karelitz took the money out of his wallet and he paid the man, and the man left. And Rabbi Karelitz and his companion continued to walk. So Rabbi Karelitz said to his friend, as they're continuing their walk, this is just his legal mind in motion, says to his friend, there are 3 reasons that I did not have to pay that 600 shekel. Number 1, paint doesn't clog up drains. Number 2, my drain is on the opposite side of the building from his drains. Our drains don't meet. Whatever it was that was put in my drain could not have caused any damage or clog in his drain. And number 3, I didn't paint my house. So his friend said to him, but Rabbi Karelitz, why did you pay the 600 shekel? And Rabbi Karelitz said, it is worth it to me to pay 600 shekel and not get into an argument with a neighbor. This is the response of one of the sharpest legal minds of his age. Now, it may not be appropriate in every situation, but at least in every situation, ask yourself, when you are right, like Moshe was right, like Rav Karelitz was right, when you are right, in whatever it is that you will gain from being right, maybe it'll be money, maybe it will be your ego, your pride, is it worth the argument it will cause? At least do that calculus. My friends, I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.